In ancient times, people were concerned with transportation and navigation, communication, record keeping, mass production, security and protection, as well as health, aesthetics, and architecture. Now let's see the importance of these concerns of people during this era. Transportation. It was significant during that time because people were trying to go places and discover new horizons. However, navigation assisted them in their journeys to unfamiliar and strange areas in the world, and it allowed them to return home after they discovered new places. There are reasons why they go to places using transportation. For them to search for food and find better locations for their settlements, and trade their surplus goods in exchange for things that they lack necessities. This condition implies that people must be able to produce food at given time and space, since resources were getting scarcer as more people struggle to share the basic necessities. That is the reason why people need to form technology that will enable them to increase food supplies and other survival needs without them traveling more or working harder. As they discovered new places, they developed weapons and armors for their security and protection. The primary challenge they faced was the conservation of life. Given this predicament, science and technology played a major role in the discovery of cures, if not the prevention of illnesses. Communication. They needed a way to communicate with natives of the areas they visited so as to facilitate trade and prevent possible conflicts. Record keeping was also important since they needed to remember the places they had been and document the trade they made with each other. It was also vital to keep records for their history and culture, so they could establish their identities as they tried to relate with other cultures and civilizations. Engineering. The development of this field allowed humans to build structures that would address their specific needs and wants. Some of the structures built during ancient times still exist today and continually awe people. Architecture might see as a mere style, but during ancient times, elaborate architectural designs were signs of technological advancements of a particular civilization. Aesthetic. People were not contented on beautifying only their structures and surroundings. They discovered that people looked more visually presentable and appealing by adding some features and decorations to their bodies. Sumerian civilization. Sumeria is located on the southernmost tip of ancient Mesopotamia. Sumerians are known for their high degree of cooperation with one another and their desire for great things. This desire pushed them to develop many things connected with science and technology. Uniform. The first writing system was developed by the Sumerians. It is a system that utilizes word pictures and triangular symbols, which are carved on a clay using wedge instrument and then left to dry. Keep records of things with great historical value of their everyday life. Uruk city. They are considered a great wonder not only because it is considered to be the first city in the world. Sumerians were able to build this city with a big challenge because of using mud and clay from the river, which they mix with the reeds, producing sun-baked bricks. Great Ziggurat of Ur. The Great Ziggurat of Ur is a Neo-Sumerian ziggurat in what was the city of Ur near Nasiriyah in present-day Dhikar province of Iraq. The structure was built during the early Bronze Age, but had crumbled to ruins by the 6th century before Common Era of the Neo-Babylonian period when it was restored by King Nabonidus. Ziggurat is called the Mountain of God. Ziggurats serve as the sacred place of their chief god. Irrigation and dikes. As the population increased, so made the demand for food. To mass production of food, but the elements in the environment seemed uncooperative, difficult to get water from the rivers. Thus, they could not maintain farmlands, scarcity of water supply, while others had problems with flooding caused by the river. That's a time when the Sumerians created a solution. Sumerians created dikes and irrigation canals to bring water to farmlands and at the same time control the flooding of the rivers. Another challenge for Sumerians was the mode of transportation. Wheel was not yet invented. The main mode of transportation was through waterways such as rivers and seas. Transportation and trading as well in fostering their culture, formation, and technology. Sumerians were able to invent the wheel. The first wheel is not intended for transportation but for the farm and food process. With the use of the wheel and axle, mass production was made easier. Farmers were able to mill grains with less effort and less time. Plow, another technology invention by the Mesopotamians. This technology would enable them to dig the ground where seeds would be planted. Roads. Sumerians developed the first roads to facilitate faster and easier travel. They made the roads with the same technology they used in making the sun-baked bricks that they laid down on the ground. Babylonian civilization. Babylonian civilization emerged near the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. They were great builders, engineers, and architects. Hanging Gardens of Babylon was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. King Nebuchadnezzar II built for his wife, Queen Amytis. If it is true, this may be considered as one of the greatest engineering and architectural achievements of the world that can't be replicated. The use of the unit of length, weight, and capacity, multiplication tables, geometry, and land surveying, systematic measurement of time, astronomical observations, and astrology. Egyptian civilization. Another civilization is famous for its legacy and is located in North Africa. Engineering feats regarding the infrastructures established by the pharaohs. Papyrus. One of the contributions of the Egyptians was to develop a system of writing. Before, clay tablets were used. However, safekeeping and transportation them were major problems. Since clay tablets were very fragile, heavy, and delicate to handle, the invention of papyrus or paper was a welcome development. Hieroglyphics. It is a system of writing using symbols by the Egyptian civilization. Water clock, developed from the reign of King Amenhotep III. Cosmetics. This was for both health and aesthetic reasons. Kohl, wore around the eyes to prevent and even cure eye diseases. Wigs. Wigs were worn for health and wellness rather than aesthetic purposes. Greek civilization. Alarm clock. This was invented to tell an individual when to stop or when to start. They made use of water, small stones or sand that dropped into drums which sounded like an alarm. Water mill. It is commonly used in agricultural processes like the milling of grains, which was a necessary form of food processing. Roman civilization. It was perceived to be the strongest political and social entity in the West. Discoveries and inventions are still relevant today. In the early Roman civilization, they produced newspapers. The first newspaper, known as gazettes, it contains announcement of Roman Empire. Bound books or codex. A codex is distinguished by handwritten, sequential pages bound together and enclosed between a case to form a single, portable unit of reading material. These early books replaced scrolls, but predate the invention of the mechanical printing press. Aside from romance, writing down information about history and politics, literature also changed form from clay tablets to parchment papers. The ancient Roman Empire was able to produce the first books or codex. The importance of the inventions of papers. It became easier for civilizations to write down everything. Record keeping was much easier. Roman architecture, one of the most visual contributions of the ancient Roman Empire to the world. Number systems had already been established before the Roman numeral. These old systems could not keep up with the high calculation requirements. They have devised their number system specifically to address the need for a standard counting method. Chinese civilization. It is considered to be the oldest civilization in Asia, also known as the Middle Kingdom. It was famous because of the silk trade, tea production, Great Wall of China, and gunpowder. Silk. They developed the technology to harvest the silk and process it to produce paper and clothing. Silk production resulted in the creation of a product for trade. Tea production. This is a beverage produced by pouring hot water or boiling water over crushed or shredded dried tea leaves. The first tea was drunk by the Chinese emperor. Great Wall of China. This was a man-made structure, the largest and most extensive infrastructure that the nation built. It is made of stone, brick, wood, earth, and other materials. Gunpowder. One of the most interesting inventions of China. It was developed by Chinese alchemists. It is mixed with charcoal, sulfur, and potassium nitrate.